So we are well into 2021, and it's about time I get around to doing a video. I've been meaning to do a video on roast profiles and digging a little deeper into kind of different strategies, different concepts, but it's a lot to take on in one video. So I thought I would just kind of keep it simple for this one and just start with just a really simple comparison of two different profiles on two different beans. For the first time on this channel, I actually have a special guest that's going to be helping me cup these roasts, the same batches of the roasts, and his name is Rob Pirie of Cedar Coffee in Denham Springs, Louisiana. So big shout out to Rob. I'll put a link in the description below to his video on cupping. If you haven't gotten into cupping, it's a great place to start. He does a great job on that. So without further delay, let's just get right into the recipe. Okay, so here are the two beans. The first is a Brazil Mogiana Natural, and the cupping notes from the supplier are clean, sweet, mild acidity, and a hint of chocolate and nuttiness. The second bean is a Papua New Guinea, grade A, Western Highlands. This is a washed coffee, and cup character is tea-like, clean, lemon, delicate, fruity finish. So both of these beans are pretty mild, pretty neutral. I was kind of hoping it might help distinguish the two profiles better. Maybe that worked, maybe that didn't. Now this is my roast plan. I'm not going to go over this in great detail. I just wanted to point out that A is the fast start, starting right from the get-go with high heat, finishing the roast in 6 minutes. Profile B is the slow start with the extended lower heat dry phase, ramping up and finishing the roast in 9 minutes. Now before I turn it over to Rob, just thought I would throw up a couple slides of what the finished roasts look like. The fast roast on the left, the slower roast on the right. This is the Brazil, and again Papua New Guinea. The faster roast on the left and the slower roast on the right. Now take it away, Rob.
Key! What's going on, man? Rob Pirie here, and I'm going to be tasting some of your coffee. Received your package in the mail. Truly appreciate that. Looks like we got two scenarios we're going to be working with, an AB for the Brazil and an AB for the Papua New Guinea. So he has a letter here I'm not supposed to read or open until we go ahead and cup these real quick. And I'm going to kind of make some guesses about what I think may be occurring here, and then we can read the little letter and see what's really going on. So with that being said, we're gonna crank it up. I got 9.5 ounces of coffee. I'm about to pour 150 milliliters in each one, and then we'll go ahead and start cupping and see what we got here. At first glance, I'm gonna go ahead and say all the coffee kind of looks to be roasted pretty much about the same. As far as smell goes, B, I'm going to say B is probably smelling a little bit more roasted than the A on each. So I don't know exactly what that is going to be about, but as far as sight and visual, they look pretty. Even the whole bean, everything looks pretty even. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and pour some water in them, get to cupping. So we're going to go ahead and roll into it. I'm going to go ahead and start breaking these and see what they smell like. I'm going to go ahead and say A. Papua New Guinea is probably a little bit more grassy, a little bit more earthy tasting, kind of more vegetative type, not tasting, but a little bit more vegetative smell. From this one to this one, I can feel this one has a little bit more developed smell to it than this one. Papua New Guinea A has a little bit more kind of vegetative type smell. B, Brazil, kind of just smells like a Brazil. It's a little roasted earth type smelling. Smells like a pretty good coffee, but we'll have to see. I'm getting a hint of some good little spice smell, so I feel that one's pretty well developed little coffee. Just going by the smell, I think A and B on this one, pretty close. I can't really tell too big of a difference on these ones. Let's go ahead and clean our cups real quick. We're coming up on about 6:55, so we're going to go ahead and start tasting. So this is going to be the B Papua New Guinea. It's definitely darker than I was thinking it was going to taste. Probably a good, you know, medium plus coffee. Papua New Guinea A. Definitely lighter. Definitely has more of a kind of grassiness taste to it. Almost like it was roasted. Almost a very underdeveloped taste. I'm going to say A was definitely either dropped way too soon or something like that. B is definitely more developed. Has a more kind of bolder taste. You can tell it's kind of has a little bit more snap to it than A here. A here definitely has a more. It's a lot more sour. Kind of has that acidity, but almost like a bad acidity. I'm gonna say almost like a sour acidity to it. So, if I had to drink one completely, definitely be the Papua New Guinea B. It's actually it's not too bad of a little roast. Moving over here to Brazil, option B. Definitely good developed coffee. I'm not going to say this one's underdeveloped by any means. B definitely roasted, fully roasted. I don't really taste any vegetation or grass-like notes to it. Not bad. I don't think it's one of the better Brazils. It's kind of more of a flat taste, I will say that. It's definitely not underdeveloped by any means, but it is kind of flat. I'm not going to say baked, but let's just call it kind of baked a little bit. It has kind of a flat baked taste to it. A, Brazil. A seems a little bit more underdeveloped to an extent, but not extremely. This here was a pretty good extreme to me. The A Papua New Guinea versus B. But here I can tell the A maybe a little bit more. It actually just tastes a little bit lighter than B. Not that it's underdeveloped or anything. And actually B definitely tastes baked after tasting A. I would say A tastes like a fresher cup. It has like a little bit more snap to it. It's probably because it's a little bit lighter. I feel B probably was roasted a little bit longer, or either got a little bit higher in temp or something like that. But A is definitely, if I had to prefer one, it'd definitely be A here. I'm not really too big of a fan on Brazils, but yeah, that A is really not too bad. So. Whew, this one definitely has a lot more acidity to it once you go from a Brazil to Papua New Guinea. The Papua New Guinea A definitely has a lot more acidity to it. So does Papua New Guinea B. If I had to choose one coffee off this whole thing, it would definitely be Papua New Guinea B. This actually is not a bad coffee at all. That's pretty good. With that being said, no real good notes that I can really pull that's just blows me away. So I'm going to say they're all four decently roasted, with this one definitely being underdeveloped and B Brazil pretty much being baked. I like the A Brazil. I can tell it's a little bit lighter of roast, and then B's a pretty solid little roast. I'm not gonna lie, I kind of like this one. B Papua New Guinea is not that bad, but yeah, that's pretty much it. So yeah, that's pretty much it. What I think personally, I think either one of two or three things. One, B was either roasted longer or roasted to a higher temp, or had a longer development stage than A, probably on each, which I think is what happened to B over here. B, I think, got baked while doing that. A turned out to be a decent little cup of coffee, A here is pretty underdeveloped, almost kind of like a grassiness to it, and B, I don't mind B. B's actually pretty good, honestly. I don't know how much, I may drink that in the morning. So, yeah. Anyway, let's go ahead and break open a little letter, see what he has here. So, let's see. Alright, so, hi Rob. Thanks again for tasting my roast. Thank you for sending them to me, Keith. This was a small experiment with faster roast versus slower roast. A was faster. I got you. B was slower. Okay, so with that being said, that makes perfect sense. I'll read the rest in here in a little bit, but yeah. So the A was faster. So yes. So Papua New Guinea A, kind of grassy, kind of vegetative type taste to it. It was roasted faster. Probably dropped. If you did drop them at the same temp, let's keep reading. Faster roasts were about 6 minutes total, and slow roasts were about 9 minutes total. Specifically, I was looking at what difference there might be when starting a roast with a low and slow start of roast, aka extended dry phase. I tried to keep the ending color and development phase similar. In this experiment, I defined development as starting at first crack minus 1 minute until end of roast. I'm starting to think that on smaller roasters, the minute before the first crack starts is important in setting up momentum into crack. E.g., example of avoiding flicks and crashes. That is why I'm including it in development and trying to standardize between the A and B roast. I'm not sure the beginning of the roast is important as I used to with these machines. I kind of agree with you there. I think there's a big misconception when you read these books on coffee roasting that are roasting on these 12 kilogram machines. I don't know if everything, is going to work the same on a little Whirly Pop or Fresh Roast or even a little Caldy and stuff like that. So there hasn't been a whole lot of data kind of collected for that. So I think this is actually a pretty cool little experiment. So your thoughts, baked or under flavors in any samples? Yes, definitely baked in B. I would say Papua New Guinea B. In fact, in Papua New Guinea B, I don't think it was really baked. I think potentially was probably getting to that point if it had taken it further. Definitely B Brazil was baked. How uniform and even looking are the whole bean, A versus B? All the beans look very similar. I mean, even in size, shape, I mean, they're very, very similar. You can tell the Brazil's a tad bit smaller, which Papua New Guinea, Indonesia over there, they usually have kind of larger beans a lot of times, so that makes sense. But yeah, as far as color, they all kind of look the same. Any major difference in roast color of ground A versus B? No, all the ground coffee looked pretty much the same. Honestly, if you'd have taken the bags away and moved the cups around, I could have told you what was what, basically. Aroma or flavor difference is one more sweeter, more acidity, juicy, more fruity. For sure, definitely the Papua New Guinea was a lot more fruity, a lot more acidity to it. Brazil's were kind of more bland, definitely B because it was baked. A was a decent little cup. Like I said, A just had that kind of vegetative, a little bit of grass to it, kind of that sour taste. B was a good cup. I'm not gonna lie, I did like B, and yeah, that's kind of my thoughts, guys. I actually really enjoyed this. It's pretty cool. So, Keith, thank you. Truly appreciate it. Honored to be a part of this, and yeah, looking forward to see how it comes out. Later, buddy.
Rob, I really appreciate you and was so glad you were able to help me out with this video. So to close out this video, I thought I would just share a little bit of my own cupping notes, talk about any changes I would make. So this is my fast Brazil roast, and I liked it quite a bit. I think Rob was pretty spot on. I don't think I would change anything on this roast. Now this is my slower Brazil roast, and while I did get a lot of really kind of traditional type coffee flavors, I did not get a really strong baked flavor from this where you lose all your sweetness. It's very hollow. It's kind of a papery, a cardboardy taste to it. But I do agree it's more flat compared to the other coffees. So in this case, I don't think I would actually change the roast. It would just be kind of a situational thing if I ever use this. Maybe you're doing a roast for the in-laws and they want a really traditional cup, kind of a throwback diner type style. Now on the faster Papua New Guinea, initially I got a lot of bright, juicy, fruity flavors, but I did not really detect that underdevelopment that Rob mentioned. And after I kind of saw his notes, I went back and recupped it blind. And what I noticed on it was the acidity was kind of aggressive. It was a little unpleasant, just a little bit too bright. The second thing I noticed was that the finish was quite dry. instead of a nice wet mouthwatery finish, it was a little bit dry. So I'm with him on this. I probably would not abandon the entire roast. I think I would just drop it at a higher temperature, and to accomplish that, simply keep all the settings, but instead of kind of finishing that last part at power 7, just bump it up to power 8, take it for the same about 1 minute and 30 seconds, and then cup it and see where you're at and maybe adjust from there. Now on the slower Papua New Guinea, I liked it quite a bit too. I'm with Rob and all his comments. I don't think I would change anything necessarily on this roast. And then in terms of final thoughts on this experiment, I don't think I would recommend going lower and slower at the beginning for the purpose of trying to get a more even looking roast at the end. I didn't find that in this experiment, and I haven't found that in the past couple of years I've used this roaster. The next point is, well, does going low and slow at the beginning help with flavor? I don't think there's any universal truth in terms of going low and slow at the beginning always works, or going fast at the beginning always works. It's going to be a tool in the toolbox. You have to maybe try both on different coffees. And one final point has to do with what is your roasting style. If you'll notice, the roast on the left, a lot less tweaking. It may come down to how much do you want to babysit the roast, how many opportunities for messing it up do you want in your roast plan, how big of a difference is there in the final flavor. That's going to be a personal preference. For me, I like to go with the more streamlined approach that still gets me the results that I'm looking for. So that is it for this video. Hopefully you got something out of it. And once again, thank you, Rob, for helping me taste these coffees.